This is the Ride1Up 700, an e-bike so awesome it deserves artificial fog. In the next few minutes, I'll tell you everything I've learned about owning it in its first 600 miles. At times I will refer to this other e-bike, my wife's Blix Soul. I bought it at about the same time for the exact same money, so I thought it would provide some interesting contrast, even though it may be aimed at a different type of rider. I had to backorder my bike, and this was clearly stated on the website. It was shipped a few weeks later than estimated, but I received regular communications and a few extras for my inconvenience, like a cup holder and an accessory discount code. The box arrived in excellent condition, especially considering my location on the East Coast. The bike was well packaged and I didn't notice any damage. Until recently, when I saw this crease on the derailleur. It doesn't seem to affect operation, but it might need some more protection. And this is what it looks like without the box. It took me about an hour and a half to put together, but maybe I spent an hour of that time just unwrapping it. The hardest part about assembly was probably installing the fork and the handlebars, which I ended up doing on the floor because I don't have a bike stand. The rack is also a little bit fussy, but it's something you can get through with patience. You may have seen other reviews that refer to the utter frustration of trying to get the wiring attached to the lights. That was not the case assembling my bike. Mine came pre-wired, and I think that this shows Ride1Up is sensitive to customer concerns and is continuously improving its products. In comparison, my wife's Blix was shipped right away but was rescheduled for delivery twice by FedEx Ground for no apparent reason. It went together in half the time, but is a much simpler bike. Still, it did have the cranks and seat pre-installed. My bike is completely stock except for two things. First, these recently added bags that I've never learned how to properly pronounce, and this pit lock replacement for the front wheel skewer. I know how these things can be defeated, but for a quick stop at a convenience store in a low-risk area where I may only want to lock the frame, this will give me the peace of mind that my front wheel will probably be there when I get back. I don't seem to have any issues with the fit of anything on my bike. The wheels arrived fairly true and have stayed that way, and items with bearings like the wheels and the bottom bracket seem to have the right amount of tension. Finally, the brakes and derailleur only needed minor adjustment on both bikes. As with every bike I've ever owned, over the first 500 miles I developed some wobble in the trueness of the chainring. But I solved this by repositioning the cranks and chainring to a different orientation on the shaft. I don't know why it worked because everything looks straight, but it does. The paint finish is probably not my favorite part of the bike. The color is fine, but I'm not a big fan of matte finishes because, especially on a bike, it tends to show marks from the bicycle lock. There's also this chip near the rear wheel that I don't think I caused during assembly or riding, and could possibly be a service prep issue, but I can't be sure. On the other hand, the paint job on the Blix is pretty striking in person and looks flawless. Still, I appreciate Ride1Up's priority on components rather than finish for the same money. I really love riding this bike. It feels very stable and is comfortable. The hydraulic brakes work better than I predicted and are super easy to actuate. And the motor is strong enough to take me and this 62-pound tank up some very steep hills. Hills where I approach 50 miles an hour going the other way. The drivetrain is also very good with quick and positive shifts. Some reviews will say that the drivetrain isn't as important in this type of application, but I disagree. I tend to fix the assist at one level and shift gears up and down as the terrain dictates. Because of this, I also appreciate the trigger shifter of the 700 over the Revo shifter on the Blix. I can comfortably get 25 miles out of a charge in my hilly area. I'm about 210 pounds and like to average 17 to 18 miles an hour. I could probably get 30 or maybe even 35 miles tops if I were to let the battery completely drain. No product is perfect, and this one is no exception. I would like to see frame protection from bouncing chains and an inner guard on the chainring because I have thrown the chain twice, shifting from first to second. Incidentally, the Blix has one already. Finally, I would love more comfortable hand grips. One last note about the riding experience. The motor will produce vibration, particularly when it's struggling. Mine sometimes makes this clanging noise going up steep hills at low speeds, where the wattage is near maximum. Here it is again. I think this is normal for a hub-motored bike, and no one should be alarmed by it. It also happens on the Blix. It's simply vibration being transmitted to the rotor, causing a brief contact with the brake pads. At 6 feet 2 inches tall with handlebars in their highest position, I am very comfortable on this bike. However, the website says the frame will handle up to 6 feet 4 inches. My opinion is that would be a tall order, no pun intended, for this frame. And if you're taller than I am, you should try a similar bike before ordering. To sum up, I think Ride1Up has built a solid, high-value product that I would not hesitate to buy again, or to recommend to anyone who can fit on it or its smaller step-through cousin. This bike represents a set of trade-offs that match closely with my personal priorities, and the few deficiencies I've identified are easily and inexpensively solved. Thanks for watching, and have fun riding!